Hey, how are you?
John Fulkerson? Good, how are you?
Good.
What does John Fulkerson need to do to increase his minutes?
I think consistency. I think one, he knows that we need him to bring the energy, and he will. John, again, I just think he's still getting back from his COVID over Christmas, but you know what we need out of this time of year is all going to be based on production. To be quite frank, you know, and the guys that are getting it done at that point in time will be the guys that play.
And a quick follow-up, do you think he's better suited now at this point, helping come off the bench and provide an impact?
I don't know. I think that, you know, he is working hard to play the role, whatever role he has to be in. John's always been a terrific teammate and would do whatever. But you know, Urosh has gone in and has given us a lot of. He's brought a lot of energy to it, and we're hoping that John will continue to do it. I thought John the other night did a good job. He did. He came in and what he did. But like I said, we're gonna play the guys that are getting it done at that point in time.
Ryan, Mike, then Rick in the back.
What has surprised or impressed you most about Sakai since he's gotten on campus?
Probably his toughness. You know, he's resilient. He has a short memory. You know, he is very competitive. So I don't know if I could put it down to one thing, but I think if you took all that, and the best way to do it is just, and I've said it before, it's in his DNA. I mean, you know, he's extremely competitive. He's not going to back away from a challenge, and he's a really good teammate. You know, he's aggressive on both ends, and that's, you know, I think he's a guy that probably his whole life is, everywhere he's gone, he's had to, you know, buck up and say, hey, I'm going to play. I'm here. I'm going to get in the game, whether it's back in the parks that he goes play in New York. I mean, he's probably not the first guy that you walk up, you'd pick on your team, but I think after you see him one time, he'd probably be the first guy. But I think he's just always been a fighter, and that's how he kind of plays the game.
Rick, Josiah, his three-point shooting percent just kind of gone up in the last 4 games or so. Is he doing anything differently, or is this just a matter of he kind of shot himself out in a little bit of a downswing?
No, I think he's a little more selective. I think he's getting more to where he's shooting the shots. I mean, you know, and again, as a team, we're better when we play from inside out, and because those are the way we practice. And so I do think that when Joe's got his rhythm, and we've seen him shoot the ball extremely well, and so I've said before, again, as long as he'll take the shots that he practices with the same speed and tempo, he'll be fine shooting the ball.
Rick, since the Kentucky game, the guys have really put in a couple of great defensive efforts, you know, against Vandy and LSU. Talk about that being the key maybe for this team moving forward.
Well, you know, for the most part, we've been a pretty sound defensive team. I mean, we've had some breakdowns. We actually played a terrific game the other night. In the last couple minutes, we gave up 3 straight layups where you know, it was a miscommunication on 2 of them in terms of how we guarded a dribble handoff, and we shouldn't. And that was an easy switch that we had talked about. I can't tell you why we broke down at that point in time. And then we got back up one time where we got in the gap and stared at the ball as opposed to stand alert. But overall, I think our defense has been good, and we can certainly get better. Really excited the other night that we took the challenge to pick up some charges. We did that. We need to do that. But you look around the country, you look around our league. I mean, there's a lot of teams playing really good defense, and if you don't play it, I don't think you're going to give yourself much of a chance to win. And if you do play it consistently on nights, again, when you struggle to score, and there's a lot of teams that struggle to score, you look around the country, as I watch some games now, every team has gone through some times where they just have a hard time putting the ball in the basket. So if you don't excel on the defensive end, it makes for long nights.
Jimmy, then Ben.
Does Uros' presence in the lineup just make you a more physical team?
He definitely brings a high level of physicality to our team. He does, and I think he helps guys. Just, you know, people would not expect this, but if you really watch Santi on tape, Santi's a very physical player. I mean, you don't realize it, and people probably don't realize it as much unless they watch him, how hard he works to get through screens and dribble handoffs. I mean, he really works hard to get through them, but Urosh brings that to us. He does, and we need more of that really from Olivier and Brandon. We need, because those guys have the bodies to do it, and I'm hoping that will be something they can learn from Urosh that they can add, and if they do, it's gonna help us.
Justin started to make some shots and seems to be getting into a rhythm. Do you see him getting into that rhythm and then kind of taking that next step the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think what Justin's done the last couple of games, and it's something I think it helps you shoot the ball better, is he's done a much better job on the defensive end. I mean, you can tell he's been much more locked in on that end of the court, really trying to, stick with our game plan, what we're doing. And I say this all the time: if you just play the game and let the offense come to you, if you're a good shooter, you're going to be a good shooter. If you're a good driver, you're going to be a good driver. If you're a good offensive rebounder, you're going to be a good offensive rebounder. It's when guys start concentrating or getting anxious on the offensive end where I think that really affects everything else. So if you'll just go into the game, I tell them all the time, I think one of the hardest things to do is say, I've got to make shots. You need to make shots, but you're not going to make them all. And really in college, very few guys make over half of them when they shoot it, especially perimeter players. And so with that said, get lost in the game, play the game, play it on both ends, and impact the game when you're not making shots. And if you get that mindset, the guys that we recruit, they'll be fine at all the other things. I think if they buy into that.
Back to Ryan, Mike.
Talk about the challenge of finding a consistent rotation with this many players. Do you feel like you found any consistency with it in the last week, and how important is it to find that?
Well, it's important, and again, separation is what gives you a chance to get some kind of rotation. If you and get guys where from night to night what they're going to produce and the reliability of what they're going to be able to do on both ends of the court. Yeah, it helps you a lot, and I think it helps. I think it helps them. But the last couple games, I do think we've been able to get a little bit more of a rotation in our mind in terms of what we're trying to do. But every game, some different games can change it. Dictated by foul trouble and things like that. But the last two games we played, started out with Urosh and Olivier together, and then we've gone with John and Brandon together, some youth and experience, and Brandon obviously being a bigger body and can bang against certain guys better than John possibly inside, but then foul trouble can change that around, and then we obviously feel on the front line that when we need to get Josiah at the 4, we get better in some areas there offensively, and the way he's rebounding the ball. When he's rebounding the ball the way he's capable of, that's when we become quicker, faster on our transition game, because he can come out of there with it quicker, but again, it's consistency in terms of what we know we're going to get, and it does help you, and I think it helps the players to know about what time of the game they're going to go into it.
Michael and Jimmy.
Talked the other night about needing Kennedy to get in the lane in the paint and kind of kick it around from there and make plays. Is that something you feel like he's done consistently, or something that you're still trying to get him to do on a regular basis?
He's done it, consistently. When he's done it consistently, he's been very effective with it. But it's not just it's different angles you're trying to get him to come in from. You can if a team knows he's going to bring it from the middle part of the floor all the time. If you break the court down into thirds, they know he's attacking from here. They can sit on it, But that's why we try to get him to move more. I think a big thing that I think we're helping him with is introduce him to the fact that you've got to learn to move without the ball, and by getting to the sides, it gives him a chance now to come in from a different angle. And a really nice play the other night. Santi came off the baseline, took one dribble to the middle. Kennedy was up top, and he made a great cut down. It showed his explosiveness without moving without the ball. The more he grasps moving without the ball and getting himself on different areas of the court, the more effective he's going to become without the ball. And because he is so fast, you know, when he gets running and if he can catch it on the run and somebody give him a pass, he's going to do a nice job getting it where he needs to get it. But that's the fun part about coaching guys, that when they come in, you know, you hope to expand their game. And again, once he grasps that part of it consistently and he starts getting lost, Santi does a good job of that, you know, moving, giving it up, moving, and it's just going to add to his game. And I would say the same thing about Zakai. Zakai needs to pass it some and get moving and get away. Like he got lost the other night for that. That was a big three he hit, but he got lost. You know, he passed, moved. The more movement we get, the better we're going to be. And I would say that for any team. I just think you get movement, you get ball movement and player movement. It's hard to guard.
All right, last two, Jimmy and Ben.
Rick, in terms of Chandler, he's been struggling at the foul line, in particular in conference games. Have you been able to pinpoint why?
Yeah, he falls back, and he's got to get up there and stay on the line and shoot the ball. He's a good shooter, but you know what? It's concentration to where he's gonna, you know, he stays after practice every day and he'll make 94, 95 out of 100. But he gets in the game and he doesn't. It's concentration, and you know, people think that's an easy shot. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. I mean, you know, you're running up and down the floor, you're playing hard, you're playing defense, and you're cutting off screens, and then all at once the game just comes to a total stop, and you got to be able to really get your concentration and get your breathing right, and you know, get into, you know, where you're really concentrating as opposed to just throwing it up there. And but all his shots this year, if you look at it on the free throw line, he's backing up, and before the ball's even halfway to the rim, he's already dropped his arms down to his side and walking backwards, and he's just got to go toward the rim and follow through and do what he's. I mean, he can make shots. I mean, he's a shooter. It's concentration.
Rick, what have you seen from Florida, and what will you all need to do well on Wednesday?
Well, Florida, you know, Mike White, what can you say? I mean, again, he's lost a valuable player and won a big game at home against Mississippi State. Probably, you know, I mean, a key guy went down. Then had another good win Saturday. They got a tough week. I mean, they're at Mississippi tonight. They're here. Mike's back to doing the things that I always remember his teams doing. Changing defenses a lot like what we faced here Saturday. You know, 2-2-1, can fall back, can run and double at any time. Can throw a 1-3-1 at you. Can mix up some zones in there with his man, and he's doing that. They looks like, and you'd expect that the last two games they've shot a few more threes since they don't have the post guy they normally throw it into, and obviously playing through their guards even more. But Mike, he does a great job. I mean, he's taken what he's got and he's just adjusted to it. He hasn't complained about any of it. He said, hey, this is what we got to do. This is how we got to play. And I do think his team have great confidence in him because they have followed his lead to the hill, and they can put numbers on you if you don't guard them, and they can turn you over if you don't take care of the basketball.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.